Welcome to the OA Light a Candle meeting podcast. Visit our website at www.oalaig.org, where you'll find several speaker feeds with over 400 speaker files, forms for ordering CDs for these speakers, and a place to donate to keep this special service active. I would now like to introduce our speaker for tonight, Gail.
Hello, my name is Gail. I'm a Gail P. I'm a compulsive overeater, and I'm a 100-pounder.
Hi, Gail.
Susan, thank you for the candle, and thank you for asking me to speak. And thank you all for being here for me, for my birthday. We're on now. Oh, God, okay. So I'm supposed to say what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. I came into Overeaters Anonymous 26 years ago. It's a special day for me today. I'm 26 years old today, abstinent. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And there's one thing that I am so grateful for, that I never have to hurt myself with food ever again. I never have to hurt myself again. And that is something that I am so grateful for. I could just stop there and just say that over and over again, but I have to say that. And the second thing I want to say, because I might say I can never have to hurt myself with food again 100 times tonight. Who knows how many times, because it's true. I don't have to hurt myself anymore. I also have to say that working this program is so much easier than being 120 pounds overweight. It is so much easier. And this is just my story. Other people could be 120 pounds overweight and have a good life. I did not experience that. So this is just my experience. So I came into OA at 265 pounds. I'm 5'6". I remember the first therapist I said I weighed 265. When I saw her, I said, she goes, well, how tall are you? And I thought, if I weighed 10 feet, it would still not be good. It would still be too big. So I have no idea why she asked me that. But anyway, okay, so I came into OA 26 years ago. I was age 37. I am 63 now. And it's a wonderful age. I came in, and there was almost nothing that worked in my life. My family relationships were nil. I had no family relationships. Not one. I spoke to nobody in my family, and I have a large family. And my friendships were not very good. I felt too ashamed to really tell my truth on anything. So if you asked me if I liked a movie, I would want to find out what you liked first, and I would say exactly. I would agree, and because I didn't have a sense of myself, because I was so ashamed of myself. And this is all hindsight. I didn't know that I was doing it at the time when I was eating, and my work life worked. I did not get along with my coworkers, but I got along with my bosses. So that always, my career always was in good shape. But other than that, I didn't get along with the world, because I just didn't know how. So I came into OA on a Monday night, and I went to a step study. I did not know what a step was. I want to talk about my recovery. You all know that I ate too much. Oh, I have pictures. Hang on. Hold on one second. Thank you. I'm sending around pictures. So I have before pictures that where I weighed 265 and I wore a size 28 dress, and now I wear a size 6 jeans. And it's not about the weight, but it is, because I didn't show up in the world like a normal person. So I didn't do anything like a normal person. As I said, my relationships were not good. I was single, and I was just not doing well. So I came into my first meeting, did not know what a step was, but I came into a step study. So we sat down and we wrote on I think it was step 4, and I cried. I cried for the hour and a half of the meeting, and some nice ladies took me to a meeting the second day. So I came in February 20th, and February 21st, I got a sponsor, and I became abstinent. I want to talk about that, because abstinence is the most important thing in my life. Bar none. I'm married happily. I have a family and the whole thing, but without abstinence, I wouldn't have anything. I would not have the life I have today. So I came in, and my abstinence at the time, it's evolved over the years. It has changed and evolved. If I had to eat 26 years ago the way I eat today, I probably would have gone mad. I couldn't have done it. But as I worked the steps, I got a sponsor my second night. on February 21st, 1989. I got a sponsor and we started working the steps right away. We started working on a food plan. And my abstinence, when I came in, was no binging, period. That was it. And she told me what to eat. So I did it. And I did it kicking and screaming. And she didn't tell me the amounts, because if she did, I wouldn't have been able to, if she would have done, at 265 pounds, the bowls were pretty big. They were pretty big bowls of food. But I started losing weight. And what I found during my abstinence of the first, 10 years, is I just had to keep lessening the amounts of food to keep losing the weight. And it wasn't, it was just about, and I worked the steps during that time so that my sanity, I was starting to become sane. So I worked the steps, and when I got too scared, I stopped losing weight. Because I would, like every 20 pounds, I would stop for a while because I couldn't handle anymore. It was really scary. So in the beginning, I just had to stop and go and stop and go and stop and go. I didn't stop my abstinence, and I didn't start compulsive eating, but I wasn't as careful as I was. But I was just not binging, and that was my abstinence. And then around 15 years ago, I started putting foods on my abstinence. Because I found that I was a size 14, and I couldn't get down to a normal size. And my whole thing is when I was doing, especially step 9, I don't want to jump around, but I may do it a little bit. When I was doing step 9, the first amends I made was to my body. My body, I apologized to it, and I said, I promised that I would never hurt it again, which means a size 14 at 5'6" wasn't healthy for me yet. I still had the high blood pressure and the cholesterol and all that stuff. So, my doctor said that wasn't okay to weigh 200 pounds. So I needed to get down more. So I worked my steps, and all the false beliefs I had about the world just went by the wayside as I worked the steps. I just worked them, and I'm going to talk about how I worked them. But right now I just want to do a little story first. And then, as I said, 15 years ago, at a size 14, I just couldn't go down anymore. I was eating normal meals, but I could not go down anymore, so I started putting foods on my abstinence. And as soon as I put my alcoholic foods on my abstinence, I call them alcoholic foods that could not keep me at a normal body weight when I eat them. There's some foods that my ex-265-pound body could not handle. There still can't. It has nothing to do with binging. It has to do with the fact that my body just doesn't do well with certain foods. So I put them on my abstinence, and then I went down to my size 6 jeans and size 8, 10 top. And that's where I've remained. So it's a process. For me, it wasn't come in, get abstinent, get to be a size 6. If I did that, I couldn't have done it. I would have gone crazy. So anyway, I started working the steps with a sponsor, and we worked the first 3 steps. And the first step was torture. It was so hard to admit that I was powerless over anything because I weighed 265. I felt invincible. I felt that nothing could penetrate me. Like somebody who just took a candle said that she couldn't find her emotions. Well, there was nothing that was going to hurt me. I knew it. I knew if a truck hit me, I would break the truck. That's how I felt. I had such false beliefs about the world, and I needed to be that strong because I felt the world was just a horrible place to be in. So that false belief had to break. And when I was told I was powerless over something, anything, food, anything, I just didn't like it at all. But I powered through it, and it felt like I was in a tunnel, a black tunnel, and there was no end to it. I was on a train in a black tunnel, and there was no end. But there was an end because I finished step 1 and I went to step 2. I want to talk about how I work the steps. I had an AA 12 and 12 and an OA 12 and 12 and a big book. And when I came into OA, we didn't have OA books. So I did it just the AA 12 and 12 at first, and then the big book. And I would read a paragraph and then write on it and read it to my sponsor. And read a paragraph, write on it, and read it to my sponsor. And that's what I did for all the AA 12 and 12. And then when the OA 12 and 12 came out, I think in 1992, 3 years later, I did it with that. I've done it with the big book. I've done it with all the other. I'm not an addict in any other program, but I've done it with the other programs also. And Al-Anon, I'm on Al-Anon, but I've done it with all the programs because I really wanted to just keep working the program. And what I found was that writing is my tool. We have 8 tools, and writing is my tool. That when I had a feeling, I would write instead of eat. So I found that if I had a pen in my hand, I couldn't have a fork in my hand because I couldn't do both. I could probably if I chose to, but I chose not to. I chose not to have a fork in my hand when I had the pen. So what I was taught to do was just go and get a pad and a pen, a pad of paper and a pen, and just write. So I heard in a meeting a long time ago, this lady named Mary, who I've never seen her since, she said that she would keep paper and pencils in her cupboards in her kitchen and in her refrigerator and her freezer. So when she was going to see, the answers to life in her refrigerator or whatever, her cupboards, because that's what we think, at least that's what I thought, that all the answers were in the refrigerator, she would take out a pen and pad, paper, and write. So that's what I started doing. So I would just write wherever I was. And one thing I would do is I did a lot of fellowship. As I said, I was single my first 9 years of abstinence. And I would go out to fellowship a lot, like meetings at least one a day for the first 10 years, and fellowship a lot. So what I would do is I would go to meet people in restaurants, and I would write until they got there. And especially because of my judgmental mind at the time, I would write even on toilet paper, because if they're 5 minutes late, I'd be like, I would have such a story about them by the time they got there that, it's a good thing I wrote rather than, tell the story. I would bite their head off. Before program, I would bite their head off. You're 5 minutes late, how dare you disrespect me? I had such a story all the time. I was a good storyteller. So, the writing really helps. It still helps me today. I just like to write and just, dear God, I would do dear God and just let it rip. So anyway, so I talked about step one, and then the rest of the step, God restored me to sanity because I came to believe He would. So God did. And the sanity is if I eat properly and I work my steps and I do my life without hurting another human being, then I'm pretty sane if everything seems to work in my life. That's sanity to me. So I've lost my train of thought. So anyway, so that's sanity to me. And I remember when we first started going to the meetings, we were going to the log cabin on Robertson Boulevard, and there were two people, old-timers. I don't remember how much time they had, but they did a lot of time in the program. And they would say, I would always say, we were supposed to know God's will and do God's will. And I didn't know what that meant. So I had to do a lot of exploring. So I finally found out that I figured out for myself, this is only for me, that God's will is not my will. Because my will was to, I'm not going to mention foods. My will was to destroy myself with food. And that's not God's will for me. So anything that is loving and kind to me and to my friends and the world is God's will. Anything that is destructive to anybody else or anything else is not God's will. So it was a no-brainer as far as I was concerned after I figured that one out. But it took a while, and I remember the old-timers just sitting with me and talking to me about it. Because I couldn't find out, how am I going to know if that's God's will or my will? Well, if it doesn't hurt anybody and it helps the world, it's probably God's will. That's pretty easy for me. So anyway, and at my fourth step, I changed sponsors. And my fourth step was 136 pages of resentments. So that's big. That's a lot of people that I resented. We're talking a lot of people. And I resented people, places, things. I physically couldn't walk upstairs, so everywhere had stairs. I put that on my inventory. So I couldn't at age 35, I was 37 when I came in, so up until then I couldn't even go up the steps to the New York Library. I couldn't do it. I was too big. I couldn't walk up. I couldn't walk Fryman. There's things I could not do, and that really limited my life. So I just wrote everything down that I couldn't, all the stuff that I resented that I couldn't do. And as I said, I switched sponsors, and I worked the rest of the steps with my new sponsor. And I did 6 and 7, which are my favorite steps. I like to dig my defects. I like to take the dental tools out and dig on my defects and then go to God. And the way I do that is I could see the defect, and then I look at what the positive would be, what God's will would be for me, and that's what I try to do rather than and I have to do a lot of writing about my defect and how it's helped me and how it's served me in the past and how it doesn't serve me any longer. It's more painful than it is fun any longer. So it's time to let it go and let God take it, and I could find another way to do my life. And then 8 and 9, my amends were amazing. So they were not scary at all. They were just the most beautiful experiences I ever had were on my 9 steps. And the people that I got to find at the Absolutely, I got to look at the time. At the strangest times, I'd be looking for somebody, and they would just appear somewhere where I never expected. It was just a beautiful experience. And then I got to not have enemies in my life any longer, because the enemies are in my head. You know, my body was my prison, and my mind was my prison. It's all self-imposed, so I didn't know how to do it any differently. And then, so the 8th and 9th step were just like. It was work, by the way. This is all work, but it's like it was worth it. It was wonderful being able to connect with people, because I was never able to do that before. And then 10 is continue to take personal inventory, which I'm 26 years later, I'm still going to a spiritual counselor. I am a spiritual counselor now. I am a licensed spiritual counselor now, and I go to a spiritual counselor, and I'm always unveiling different things that I get to learn, because I'll never stop learning. And then 11th step is like absolutely important, obviously. I have a meditation practice. I meditate every day and I pray. But because I'm a spiritual counselor, I pray for clients and I pray for people. I'm on different ministries like that, and I pray a lot every day. And then 12th, the step is wonderful, giving back to the community, giving back to my people. You guys are my people. So that's the step work. So I do that, have done that, will continue doing that the rest of my life, and just continue. I am powerless over food. I don't know what I would never, ever hurt myself with food again, so I will never find out what it would be like to take back foods. In my personal experience, I don't believe in taking back foods once they're abstinent foods. I'm not going to become well. I just don't think, I'm talking for myself, I don't think I'm going to become well and start taking back things that I've not had in 15, 20, 25 years. So anyway, so my life today is, as I said, I'm a spiritual counselor. I went back to school 5 years ago and got a license. And I see clients, and I'm in a non-denominational church. I'm Jewish, but I'm in a non-denominational church, and I'm a practitioner there, and my life is spiritual. I have ministries. I work with homeless and low-income people. This is not Gail's will. This is God's will that I do. I work at a food pantry. I volunteer at a food pantry, so I give back all the food that I ate. I don't have to eat it all now. I could actually share it with people that need it. So that's really important to me that I do that. I'm married. Been married for almost 14 years. I've been with my husband 17 years now, and I could not in my lifetime ever be married to such a wonderful man if I was still eating. You know, there's no way. There's no way. I would have not thought I deserved it, and it wouldn't have worked out because there's no way. I just couldn't have been. I'm sure I lived alone my whole adult life until him, but I would not have been easy to live with because I was, number one, the food was out of control. I was eating out of control, and my mind was out of control constantly. Mean and nasty and not easy to get along with. So my friendships are great. And by the way, I have my whole family. I have a whole entire family. I married a man with 3 adult children. We have 5 grandkids. And I've actually learned how to do all this through working the program. I don't know how to be a grandmother, but I know how to love because I know how to love now. And that was something that I had to learn how to do because when I came from such a black heart, which, eating just made my heart black. And it, working the steps made it pinker and pinker and pinker. It really did. And that's, so my life is working in all areas. I'm retired. I've been retired for 14 years now. And as I said, I do a lot of charity work, a lot of volunteer work. I did not want to be a lady that lunched. It wasn't for me. I thought it was going to be, actually. I really thought I was going to be going to the City of Hope luncheons with all the, the fancy stuff, and it's a waste of time for me. So as I said, I go in the trenches and volunteer. So every area of my life seems to work okay, and if it doesn't, I go and get counseling. I have my food. Okay. Every day when I get up, first thing I do is go to my desk and I pray, and I connect with God, and we plan my food for the day, what I'm going to eat, and then I email it to my food sponsor. I email my actual from the day before and my proposed what I'm going to eat that day. And otherwise, I'm down 120 pounds, and I've gone through menopause. That was a while ago. Went through menopause, abstinent, didn't have to gain weight. And that was a challenge. I had to go to great lengths not to gain weight. I'm telling you, I didn't sleep for 7 years. I think it was 7 years I didn't sleep, and I had to eat very little calories. And now it's back up again. I could have more, but I had to do that because I don't want to hurt myself anymore. And if I can't fit in my clothes, that hurts me. It just hurts me. So, and it also hurts my health. And I have my abstinence now for my health. It's like I want to be healthy. I'm not a movie star. I'm not a model, but I want to be healthy. And that's really important. That's part of my living amends to my body that I have every day. So I email my food, and, I have a prayer meditation schedule, every day. And I just I try to live a spiritual life. Knowing God has been the biggest gift of my life, except abstinence is the biggest gift, and then knowing God is a gigantic gift in my life. I think God is love, and that was something that I couldn't be before when I was not abstinent. So, should I stop? Everybody have any questions, really? Okay, so I'm going to stop now. I'll stop now so you could ask questions. The lovely lady asked how I deal with failure in abstinence, and not about the food, just about life. How I deal with failure. Number one, I don't think I fail. I try, and sometimes things work, and sometimes things don't work. It's not failure. I don't feel like I'm a failure at all. Let's say I try an exercise and I don't like it, or it doesn't work for my body, or it hurts, or I just don't like the music. That doesn't make me a failure. It's just I tried something new. I tried something new and it didn't work out, so I tried something else. So I think that what I do, number one, I do a lot of writing about that. Because I want every exercise I try, I work out almost like 5 or 6 times a week. I want every single exercise to be the best, and to be it has to be like the right exercise and the right everything. Some things just don't work out, and I just try it, and it's like, oh well, it doesn't work for me. Like, I want to be a runner more than anything. Like, I'm starting to run. I was 63 on my birthday 2 weeks ago, my natal birthday, and I'm starting to run. Well, I only could run like a quarter of a block before I had to stop. And that's not a failure. And then I did it again, and I could run a half a block. And I did it again. I didn't consider myself a failure and go home and say I'm a failure. I just keep doing it until I could do it longer. And if something is that difficult, not the running, but something that is so difficult it's not possible, then maybe it's not meant to be. But so I just have to, just say, oh well. So I don't think that anything's that important except for abstinence and God. So, in my opinion, So anyway, hope that helped a little bit. I don't know. This lovely lady asked about my spiritual development and the different. That's perfect. The spiritual development. I started off not even ever saying God in my life. Never. At age 37, I never had a concept of God, and so I decided to build a God of my own understanding, and this God is loving and kind and loves me no matter what. And this God holds my hand. I was told when I was first abstinent that I am to go to lunch with God once a week. I have to take a pad of paper and a pencil, and I am to go alone with God. And God is to sit across the table from me, and we are to have a conversation, and we are to become friends. And we are to have a relationship. So that's how I started. I would go every week to a restaurant by myself with God and a pad of paper and a pencil, and I would write to God back and forth. And I've come to believe that because of my connection with God, I am abstinent. That is like the most special thing that ever could happen to me in my life, being abstinent. So I just built a relationship with God. So I write to God. All my writing is to God. So we have a relationship back and forth. And it just built over the years. And I lost my condo at the 94th earthquake. I live in the valley. And I was so mad at God, I just wrote like I would write to, I could talk to a person. Just wrote how mad I was at God, and God would just give me more blessings. So I would write, how dare you do that? He gave me another blessing. More blessings would just come upon me. And I was abstinent, so I got to see that they were blessings. I lost my condo, but I got unbelievable blessings in His place. So I built my relationship. So it built on all the blessings. And if I am staying abstinent, but as I stay abstinent, I see the blessings, and then I know that it's God's blessings. It's not mine. My will got me to 265 pounds. God's will got me to 145 pounds, where I'm supposed to be. So that's how I built it. Just my abstinence. All I have to do is think of my abstinence, and I know that God is with me all the time, because I eat 3 times a day at least. So that's how I built. And it's like over 26 years now. And we're very close now, God and I. So we have a great relationship. Anyway, thanks for asking. How do I use the 12 steps in my relationship with my husband and my extended family? I am powerless over my extended family and my husband. And I just work from there. I just start the steps. I am powerless. I stay out of their business. It is not my business. I have 3-step kids. My husband has an ex-wife that's a total nightmare, an alcoholic nightmare, and I just stay out of everything. I am kind and loving to everybody, and I stay out of their business. My husband's a mountain biker, and he's doing dangerous stuff up on the hills, and I just pray and just stay out of it. He loves it, and I stay out of it. And I just do my step work. I am powerless over them. God keeps me sane because I don't have to sit there and nag them or find out about them or do any of that stuff. And I just work the steps like I do everything else with steps. I have made amends. I have screwed up, and I have made amends with my stepkids because I have overstepped my bounds in certain areas, and I have apologized. With my husband, I make him, every day. We live together. So anyway, that's how I do it. So I just work the steps like I'm powerless over food. Same exact thing. Whatever I'm powerless over, I just work the steps on. Thank you for asking. I'm done. Thank you.